Some stories are just so powerful, so tragic, they literally force us to change the world we live in. They create the systems we now completely take for granted. Today, we're going to talk about one of those stories, the story of Jonny Gosch, and how his disappearance built the very foundation of how we protect children today.
So let's go back in time. The date is September 5th, 1982. It's a quiet Sunday morning in America's heartland. But for one family, and pretty soon for the entire country, this day would become a dividing line, a line between before and after.
So let me ask you this. What happens when a child vanishes? Right now, we expect our phones to buzz with Amber Alerts, we expect immediate widespread police action. But the answer to that question was tragically different back then, and it's all because of what happened on that September morning.
All right, so let's meet the boy at the center of all of this. His name was Jonny Gosch. He was 12 years old, living in West Des Moines, Iowa. A pretty responsible kid, with a morning paper route, a classic slice of American childhood that was about to become a national nightmare.
Now, to really get why this case was such a game changer, you have to understand the system, or really the lack of a system that existed at the time. It was a system basically defined by one deeply, deeply flawed and unofficial rule.
Okay, so back then, police had this, it wasn't an unofficial policy, but it was common practice. It was called the 72-hour wait. The thinking was, they're probably just a runaway. They'll come home. So for 3 full days, 72 hours, they often wouldn't even start looking. 3 days. We now know those first few hours are the most critical. Just waste.
Just look at the difference here. It is literally night and day. In 1982, the default was runaway, which meant a waiting period and a small local search. Today, the assumption is abduction. And that triggers an immediate, massive response, like the Amber Alert system. The whole philosophy has been flipped on its head, and for good reason.
And that morning, everything just unraveled so fast. It's chilling. At 5:45 a.m., Jonny leaves with his dog to deliver papers. Just 15 minutes later, the dog comes back, but he's alone. By 7 a.m., the phone starts ringing. It's customers wondering where their paper is. And then, at 7:45, they find his little red wagon, just sitting there, still full of newspapers. Jonny was just gone.
So imagine you're Johnny's parents, John and Noreen. You're panicked, you call the police, and you run smack into that frustrating 72-hour rule. The response was slow, almost dismissive. They realized pretty quickly that if they wanted their son found, they were going to have to light a fire under the system themselves.
And that right there, that became Noreen Gosch's mission. She turned her own personal hell into a national crusade. She just refused to be a passive victim. She decided she was going to be a relentless advocate, not just for her son, but for every missing child out there.
And this fight, this crusade for answers, it sparked something. Something truly revolutionary. It was one of the simplest yet most powerful public awareness campaigns in American history.
And the idea they landed on, it was absolutely brilliant in its simplicity. It took this horrible tragedy that felt distant to most people and put it right in their homes, right on their kitchen tables. Every single morning, millions of families were looking at the faces of missing children like Jonny Gosch. It made the problem impossible to ignore.
Now, tragically, Jonny was never found. But the movement he inspired, it created a seismic shift in how we protect kids. The awareness that was raised by his case and his mother's incredible activism, it all led to real, concrete, lasting change. Look at this list. This activism wasn't just noise. It led directly to the Missing Children's Assistance Act of 1984. It led to the creation of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC. A national hotline was created, that awful 72-hour rule officially tossed out, and police training was completely reformed. This is the safety net we have today, built piece by piece from this one tragedy.
So the big question is, does all this actually work? Well, just look at this number. According to NCMEC, the recovery rate for reported missing kids is now 98%. 98%. That staggering number, that is Jonny's legacy. It's the proof that this new system, the one born from his disappearance, saves lives every single day.
When you really think about it, it's not an exaggeration at all. The Amber Alerts, the immediate police response, the entire national network that we just take for granted now, it was all built on the heartbreaking lessons learned from one boy's empty paper route in Des Moines, Iowa.
So this all leaves us with one final, really important question to think about. The milk carton campaign worked because it used an everyday object to grab everyone's attention. So, what's the milk carton of today?
Is it a viral social media post? A push notification on our phones? As technology changes, how do we make sure we keep up this legacy of vigilance? How do we keep making every table, and now every screen, a part of the search party?